Okay. Welcome. I am Bethany Zell. I'm the Program Director for Healthy You at Cary Medical Center, and we are really excited to bring you this series of chats with our local Aroostook Mental Health Center folks. Our first guest is Erik Lamoreau, and he is the Roads to Recovery Aroostook Recovery Center of Hope Manager for AMHC. That is a mouthful. That's a great title, though, because it's a vital role in our community. We're really needing the center, and it's pretty new. How long has the center been open?
So the center here has been open for about 18 months, maybe a little bit longer, here in Caribou, and the center in Holton has been now pushing 8 to 9 months open. So very new
Awesome.
service, very new idea, and we're really happy to have it in our communities here in Aroostook County.
Fantastic. So how are mental health and substance use or abuse connected? What ties are there that exist?
So through my experience as being a person with substance use, I know that the two major things around mental health that you see inside substance use is very high anxiety and a lot of depression. Those two situations seem to be real triggers for individuals to want to try to fix that issue on their own. And what they end up doing is self-medicating. They usually self-medicate with substances that are very detrimental or addictive. And before you know it, not only do they still have anxiety and depression, now they have a substance use problem as well.
Wow. So are we seeing a greater number of substance use and abuse issues with the onset of this pandemic that we're experiencing right now?
I would say yes. And the reason why I would say yes is that the hardest thing for a person with substance use disorder is isolation. We've done a lot of work around trying to tell you not to isolate and be in your community and make connections. And now we're telling them that you don't have a choice but to isolate, and we need to find a way to manage that. So what happens is when someone isolates, their anxiety goes up, especially if you're losing a job, or you can't get into a line, or crowded. Like sometimes crowds really cause an issue for a person with mental health, and you'll see lines at stores and things like that can be detrimental to an individual with some mental health issues and a substance use issue. A lot of times, what I've seen is that when a person with a mental health issue and a substance use issue is told to go into isolation or quarantine, it's hard for them to reach out to individuals because they almost feel more comfortable in that isolation because that's where their disease is like very active. So it's hard to reach out to those individuals, but at the same time, it's even harder for them to want to reach out for help because they almost feel more comfortable in that situation.
So it's that false sense of security, like I'm in a good place, when really they're just self-medicated and isolated, and it's taking them on a negative path that they're not even really fully aware of.
That's exactly right.
Wow. So what resources does the Roads to Recovery Center provide, and how have those adapted to this COVID-19 pandemic situation?
Great. So this is my specialty, right? So recovery center organizations, we're an RCO. So an RCO provides a bridge to your community on providing resources to individuals that are suffering with substance use disorder. The great thing is that bridge is very wide, and that could be to a lot of different resources, whether it's mental health issues, substance use issues, family dynamics. We offer all kinds of different services, whether it's group therapies, which are CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies. We also provide one-on-one recovery coaching for an individual. One of the biggest things that we see is that an individual comes in with a substance use disorder. They get the substance use disorder on a scale that's manageable, and then their mental health comes out because they're no longer self-medicating to manage the mental health. So it takes a very long, holistic view of trying to deal with an individual with substance use disorder. I always believe that it's important to tackle the substance use before we can tackle the mental health, because we don't know, or we can't make an accurate reading or assessment on an individual with mental health issues if they're still self-medicating. So it makes it very difficult. So we usually get an individual that we want to coach or something like that, in a way that we have to get them to a place in order to make a referral. And that's what we do. So we will get them to a place, we'll work with them at their own time, meet them right where they're at, and try to get them to a place where they feel comfortable reaching out for even more help. Because it's hard enough with a person with substance use disorder to say that I need help, to continually say I need help beyond just the substance use. So it's important that we do that. We also provide great telephone recovery support. So in the past, it's always been a way of like, hey, if you need help, here's a phone number, give it a call. The problem is like, a lot of times that phone feels like it's 3,000 pounds when you're actually calling to ask for help. And a lot of individuals won't do that. So in this case, we've changed that philosophy, and it's like, hey, why don't you provide us with your phone number and we'll call you and see how you're doing. So we have a great idea where it's TRS, telephone recovery support, where we actually call individuals and check on them without them actually having to be in a place where they have to make a call to get help. So that way we can be on top of what's going on with them before they actually even know anything's going on with them. It's a really great service. It's something that we do very well. And it's been very much increasing during the COVID-19 session, because people are at home. They don't mind getting a phone call and having us check in on them. We have great conversations with individuals and see where they're at, and it keeps them engaged with people that are willing to continue to support them.
Awesome. Now, is that a service that kind of stands alone, or is that part of, like, if someone approaches the center and kind of, I don't know, do they register with you or come in for referrals, and then that telephone recovery service is part of the program rollout? Or is
So
it?
this is a great thing, Bethany, because what we do is we allow an individual to make their own decisions. If they want to call and sign up for TRS, fine. If they want to step into the center real quick and sign up for TRS, that's great too. So we do have a registration form that we love to have our individuals register for. They get to pick the times that they want the phone calls. They get to pick the times that works for them and how many a week that they want. We really put it into their hands and allow an individual to make their decisions on their own. So we really empower them to find what's right for them, and also have a great process on how we keep that with very little information on the individual. It's not important to us at the recovery center what they use, who their people are, any of that stuff. We really just care about them and want to help them exactly where they are and where they're at, and allow them to choose what they want to do. That's how it really works.
Yeah, and I think that that's the foundation of how recovery works. I mean, it has to be about the person wanting the help and ready for doing whatever work is required to overcome these obstacles of addiction. And so that's awesome that you guys really kind of leave it in their hands and give them that power and that control, because a lot of addiction stems from this loss of control over our ability to say no to something addictive, and that's a bad behavior for us. So that's awesome. So have the telephone recovery program, has that just been in place for the COVID-19 time, or were you doing that prior to this, and how has it changed?
So we definitely have been doing it prior to this. But what we noticed as soon as the COVID-19 situation came in, that we had a big uptake in individuals that wanted that service. A lot of times, a lot of the people that are on that program come to the center anyway, and they're at the center most of the time and visiting and whatnot, and making connections with other people in recovery. As soon as COVID came and the center had to close, they really instituted, like, you know what, I need to stay connected. And that's part of recovery, that they know they need to stay connected with healthy individuals. So we were willing to expand that service a little bit and re-offer it to them based on what their needs are at that time. And also reach out to every member that we have and ask them if they wanted this service. Because they are not going to be able to come in. Even the individuals that didn't sign up for it before, And we actually increased about 16 people that really wanted this service beyond what they were already receiving from the center. So I think it's a great showing of like, hey, people in recovery know they need to stay connected. And they were willing to like, hey, I know it's going to change for me too, and I need to try to do something to continue my recovery.
So how many people do you have, working and doing this service? I mean, is it just a handful of you guys making all these calls?
So yes, yeah. So we have about 5 people that make these calls. We also get a lot of support from our partners. So RCOs are across the state of Maine, and there's now 12 that I believe that are open across the state of Maine, and we're very supportive of each other. We all offer TRS. Um, Luckily, we have a great group in Portland that will help make these calls. That they have been helping us if we need the help. Because we're doing so many other things in our community already, that it's important that we make sure that we focus on making sure these individuals at least get a phone call from a peer, meaning someone in recovery, to talk to them about their recovery and just see where they're at. It's wonderful. We get a call from the individual that makes the calls from Portland once in a while, and they're like, I just had one of the most amazing conversations with someone in Aroostook County. And I'm like, that's cool, because Aroostook County are really good people. So so it's not just stretching our recovery, it's also showing people what our culture is like. And it's a really great service and showing a lot of different aspects of like the people that we serve. So that's a really good thing.
Cool. So what is, I guess, one thing, if you want to make sure people walk away with kind of one bit of knowledge from watching us have this conversation, for people who might be struggling with substance use or abuse or any mental health issue, what's the one big thing you want them to walk away from this with?
Boys, that's a good question. And that could be a whole segment on its own, right? I really think that if people out there are really struggling with substance use and during COVID-19, to know that there is stuff that is available. There is availability to help you get connected. Um, right now, like the Recovery Center in general, we're offering all of our meetings on Zoom. We have calendars that show the IDs and the passwords to all of those meetings. We are doing community outreach, which is far beyond anything we've ever done. We turn the philosophy similar to TRS, where if you can't come to the center, let's take the center to you. So what we've done is we've actually taken resource tables across Aroostook County. There's a schedule on our Facebook page of where we are until the end of May. With every service that the Recovery Center already offers, whether it's peer support, talking to somebody, referrals to other programs, whether it's the MAT clinic or whatnot. So we want to make sure that even if you can't come to the center physically, that we will actually take the center to you so you can see what we have to offer. That includes naloxone distribution. We're also taking naloxone to communities that normally would not have that access. That's a huge difference compared to what we were doing before. I really look at COVID-19 as a blessing in this situation, and that's a person in recovery always taking something negative and trying to turn it into something positive. And in this case, that's what we're trying to do at the center. We've learned that these virtual meetings are very valuable to a rural area like ours. The state of Aroostook. Aroostook is the size of the state of Connecticut, right?
Feels
And
like
in
its own state.
reality, like in reality, like it's hard for someone in Fort Kent to travel to Caribou to a meeting once a week, let alone ask him to do it 3 times a week, right? With all of the things that are going on. So we have found that virtual meetings is really giving access to individuals that can't always be physically at a meeting or a group or through service. This also continues through coaching. We are finding that coaching through virtual aspect is very valuable as well. So we really like this idea, and I think even after this is over, we're going to offer this nonetheless the same way that we offer it now. We obviously are going to come back into our live meetings, but there is availability for individuals across Aroostook County. And if anything comes out of COVID-19 that's a positive thing, it's more service and more accessibility and more opportunity for individuals that live in Van Buren that say, hey, I can't make it to the center. How am I supposed to apply for these kinds of things? if it's not us coming to Van Buren, you can digitally come in and enjoy the same services that we provide on a regular basis, especially now that we've all gotten very well at using these services virtually, that I think that this is going to be a huge change for all of us, no matter what service we provide. So if there's anything I want anybody to know is that there's no more barriers, or hopefully less barriers than we had before in getting the services, especially peer services, that you could possibly receive.
Yeah, I mean, even prior to COVID, I mean, Aroostook County felt huge, and it can be limiting as far as access goes. So I think the more people that are comfortable accessing these services online, the better, because, the geographic distance won't go away even when the pandemic is over. And getting people up to speed and able to access what they need from the comfort of their own home, I mean, it can only be of value and definitely help our communities. Well, awesome. It is so great to hear about all the awesome things that are happening at the Recovery Center. We hope you'll come back and chat with us again during Recovery Awareness Month in September. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. And we were going to post links below in our video description with some access to how to connect with Erik and AMHC and Roads to Recovery Center and get hooked up with what you might need during this time. But always remember, you are not alone. There are people just a phone call away, and they're there to serve. So any way you need help, have the courage to call and ask. Have a great day.